Relatively new for me. And I'm up here on Capitol Hill in the Capitol Hill Visitor Center. I'm sitting next to the statue of Sacagawea. And unfortunately, here in Congress, they're very good at passing laws, putting every American over $100,000 in debt because our debt is now $35 trillion, as opposed to when President Obama came in, it was $2 trillion. So now we're up to $35 trillion, which is a little over $100,000 for every American. And I thought I was irresponsible with my student loans and my car getting repossessed and like a couple of thousand in credit cards. But it seems like the federal government has put me about, I don't know, 2 to 3 times more in debt than I was before. So that's kind of unfortunate. And so they're forgiving people's student loans and then just giving it to everybody as federal debt. That's not cool either. And so the statue here of Sacagawea, famous Native American woman, if you want to call it that, because that's a term that was made up with the Americas, whatever. But Sacagawea is spelled 1,000,000% wrong. All the way. And so, when you say we the people, I know that they're a separate nation, but she was part of the people and you spelled her name wrong. Now, a lot of people mess with Kamala Harris and they say her name wrong and they spell it wrong, and I think that's unfortunate. And I think it's also unfortunate that the Supreme Court has decided to chime in and say it's okay for Donald Trump to be a president even though he has 34 felonies. Now, to be president, you have to what? Be 35 years old, born in the U.S., be a resident for 10 years, and not be a felon. Those are 4 requirements, and that's it. You could be a dumbass idiot who worked at a gas station as a cashier and become president if you meet those requirements. And yes, I'm saying most people who are cashiers at gas stations should not be president. Not that you're a dumbass in general, but that you're not qualified to be president. But if you meet those 4 requirements, you can be president. I guess you also have to feed the superstars when they come to the White House McDonald's instead of lobster and steak or whatever they want. And yeah. Oh, me? I'm not really that stupid. I used to serve on the Fredericksburg Area Autism Council, the Fredericksburg Area Council on Transition, which actually helps with families of adults with disabilities who are aging out of the school system at age 22 and they need assistance to figure out all the supports for their disabled adult child. Well, I was on the council that helped all the people in the Fredericksburg area with that. I also served on the Planning District 16 Reentry Council and the Community Integration Advisory for Governor McAuliffe of Virginia, as appointed by Delegate Rob Whitman. Now, these are facts you wouldn't know about me because I'm homeless in D.C. and I have been for a while. And the people in the family I grew up around, well, they told the government I was a terrorist 2 years in a row. Out there in Fairfax County last year, they had me facing 15 years. 2 years ago, they had me facing 5 to 10 years for the same charge. And 2 years ago, I did it over 4 months, and I'm fucking fucked up now. I have PTSD, my brain is broken. And then last year, they said I was going to do some other stuff, and that was a crap too. And guess who the overseers were when I was in Fairfax County? The overseers of inmates at Fairfax County Adult Detention Center are people I grew up around. One's name is Jennifer Wickham, original name Jennifer Lawley. Her husband, Rob Wickham, does a lot of the contracts with Microsoft with the federal government. And guess what? Their friends are the ones who are like the superstars for like Google and Microsoft, vice presidents, and the internet, like AOL starting in Reston. How about this? How about Limelight? You know that company that hires all the eyeball and mouth actors and all the actors for Instagram and all that stuff, Limelight? You know the same company that sold the NFT of Mike Tyson biting off the ear back in the day? They're probably the same people who got him to involve himself in Delta 8 rather than real cannabis. Yeah, I'm talking about people I grew up around, all of them. And unfortunately, they were the overseers when I was in jail, specifically Sean Joyner, who's actually a lawyer for the federal government, but he was also the overseer at Fairfax County Adult Detention Center. And I've known him since a child. Now, in German, you'd say Die Joiner, which means the joiner. But in America, you say joiner or die, which is a play on words from a few hundred years ago when his family put that into the flag. Now, I don't believe in cutting the people up into 13 pieces and making 26 letters for those 13 colonies to keep them each hot and cold. You know, it's math. 13 original colonies, 13 so-called families that run the world, 26 letters in the alphabet, and they like to keep it all red and blue, hot and cold. So that's how it is. Di Joyner, and also Jennifer, y'all suck. And who else? I don't know who runs YouTube or who runs PayPal, but y'all should really get on top of your game because, you know, the digital thing's cool until everybody figured it out. And then the only thing I have to figure out is Who's getting all of the pallets full of $100 bills by the billions dropped into Afghanistan and other countries? But I think it's mostly Afghanistan. I heard it's 35 to 80 billion a week in pallets of cash. And the last thing I'm going to say is, did you know why the Secret Service was formed in the United States? It wasn't to protect the president. It was to stop counterfeiting. I'm not going to talk about what the original dollar was. Well, I will. Which is why this statue is spelled incorrectly, Sacagawea. I'm going to say where the name is spelled wrong right here, and then I'm going to leave. Which I don't have to, but I'm going to. I need to go back and eat some lentils and rice on Anacostia. So the American dollar was started when they decided to pay people to murder Indians for money. And you bring their red skin or their scalp back to DC or to any of the reserves where they hold all the silver and gold, and they give you silver certificates for it, which is paper money. And that's how the US dollar was founded, by saying, hey, we can't keep getting all these people money or gold or silver, let's give them silver certificates. And so that's the US dollar was founded as silver certificates, paying people for their scalps, redskins. And that's why people have a problem with the name Redskins. And now it's just called the dollar bill or the greenback. So who are the greenbacks? What does that mean? But they did the digital thing. I could tell you how to make money on digital too, but that's a whole other thing, because one of the rich people told me before they decided not to be my friend and try and get me murdered. Anyways, I've also almost been murdered a couple times. I've been assaulted and a lot of other things. I had my stuff robbed and burned. On December 30th, I had my teeth smashed in and my lips smashed open by a shillelagh, and the back of my head hit by a rusted, well, I think it was a bat covered in mud. It's people from the camp where I live. The guy we used to call him Bob, I haven't seen him in a while. They've shut the camp down since, the police have. It's fenced off now. And the little guy, I don't even know his name. He kind of thinks he was like James Dean. So apparently he's being held right now. His name is, what is his name? His name is Jacob Ward, and they say they have him in the psych ward. I don't think so. And then Bob, his name is James Jackson, which is actually the name of the property person who, when they got my backpack after I was beat to death or almost, when the cops got it, the police officers, a guy named James Jackson is the one who was listed as the property person who had my backpack. Well, things were stolen out of my backpack, and it says so when I got the receipt for getting my property back from the park police. In addition, he's running wild. We called him Bob, and I've seen him since then. I've seen a number of them. So what happened was I got hit in the face by the little guy with the shillelagh, hit the Bob with a bat, and I fell on the ground dead. I saw a light, and then I came back, and I was like, oh shit. And I looked up, and the whole gang's there. Like, it seemed like they must have been at a conference, what to do with the body. And I jumped up to run, and then I got a beating on my life. I guess it was the beat down, everybody to get their stomp in. And then finally, a man from the Secret Service arrived and helped me. I'm gonna leave it at that. But remember that E.T. movie with the glowing finger? Well, my head didn't need stitches, but it did get hit with a bat, so, aha. Anyways, I went to 2 hospitals. I'm still recovering. This hand's jacked up. And yet still nobody I grew up around in Reston, Virginia, or my family, which is a whole questionable thing there, has really stepped forward. So I reached out to my cousin in Pittsburgh, and she's a loving person. And I just went up to Pittsburgh recently on the 1st when I got my first disability check from Social Security, SSDI, because I have a full work history. And I flew up to Pittsburgh on an airplane, and I took the bus back the next night. My cousin helped me get a telephone and calm me down, make me feel good. I got some cannabis and smoked it up there. And as much as the helicopters fly by here, 2 airplanes flew by on Monterey Street when I was chilling there, and they dipped their wing just to say what up. They're called Civil Air Patrol up there. It's a good life, and I really don't like people who take advantage of others, who mess with homeless, old, mentally ill people like myself. And I wish the nation would stop. I wish Social Security would stop, and I wish the city of Washington, D.C. would stop, and I hope the civilians stop too. Because I'm just one. Imagine how many people have PTSD from incarceration or from doctors, and I got both. That's a whole other thing. You can't sue the police, that's true. And if you try, it's probably really dumb unless you're in prison for like 20 years for nothing. However, you can sue hospitals as much as you want. So if I ever get stable into my own place living, which I've been in Anacostia for, since February 1st, waiting for my voucher to be helped with me by a manager, but they're not helping me, they're hindering me. I get stuff stolen out of my room there too. That's a whole other story as well. When you complain and they don't do nothing, you stop complaining. It's kind of like them old people, you know how people made a business out of getting rid of their elders? Put them in a room and tell them shut the hell up and tell the place just take your social security. Sometimes they'll sell their house and everything and give it to them. And they get their watch stolen or something they like. And then the staff says, oh, they must have misplaced it. And then the staff drugs them. We're not having that anymore either. That's ending as well. The coronavirus was kind of a joke. And they actually said on the news about, I don't know, 4 months ago, some people never got coronavirus, likely because they have immunity from coronavirus, they got it before. That's true too. So what happened during that pandemic time? I guess it's going to unfold for the world. And I really have no idea what I'm doing. But you can ask a Shaolin monk or a wizard such as Ozzy Osbourne or Willie Nelson. They'll tell you. I won't tell you who the monks are. You got to find them yourselves. All love. Oi, oi, oi.